Team Pedal and Purpose, welcome back. We are here to talk about bike setup, and that is crucial for your ride because it will make or break your ride for sure. What do I mean by that? Basically, when it comes to your bike setup, if you're not set up correctly, you could either injure yourself or you just won't have the best workout that you could possibly have. And who wants to go into a class or start any type of ride and not have the best outcome with the amount of time that you're using, right? It feels like a waste of time. So we're here to prevent that. Whether you're pushing play or you're stepping into a classroom, always make sure your bike is set up correctly in the very beginning so that you can just get right into it and get to those goals as quickly as you possibly can. That's what we're here for, right? So we're going to bounce around a little bit, but the most important part is to start with your saddle. Your saddle is your seat. So this needs to be the right height, and we're going to start with that because without the right height, the rest of your bike doesn't even matter. So what you're basically looking for is this part of the saddle to hit you right here in the middle of the hip. That's a great way to start. I always start there because that's kind of a baseline for anybody. So I'm going to look for this to hit right here in the middle of my hip, and it feels a little bit low. So what I'm going to do is whatever your lever may be, it could be a knob, it could be a lever, it could be a little pin. Whatever it may be, you adjust your bike how you need to. With a Stages bike, on this particular Stages bike, I have a lever that I pull forward. I will pull the bike up wherever it feels comfortable. I'm not going to lock it in yet. So when I say I'm not going to lock it in, this means that my seat is still going to move. Once it's locked in, it's secure. It's not going anywhere. But I'm here to make sure that my bike's where it needs to be. So I'm not going to lock it in, save myself some time. I'm going to hop on the bike, just like we said to do in the very first course. Put my foot in the cage, swing it over, put my other foot in. So this looks like it could be pretty good, yeah? So the way that I always check to make sure that my bike is the right height, I always take one of my legs and lock them out. This is an extra step, yes, but I think it's very important because this will literally change the height of your bike. And I promise once you get it right, you find where it needs to be, you'll be very thankful that you went through this step. So the goal is to lock my leg out, be able to pull my heel underneath my hip without bending my knee, keeping my leg straight and staying in the saddle. So if it gets to the point where I pull back, my knee bends, wrong. If I keep that leg straight, pull the heel back, and that pushes me out of the saddle, wrong. So the goal is to keep that leg straight, heel underneath your hip without coming out of the saddle. Right now I'm coming out of the saddle, so that means I'm going to swing off of my saddle. My seat is obviously too low, and then I'm going to raise it up again. I will get back on the bike, try again, straighten out one of those legs, pull my heel underneath my hip, and if I don't raise out of the saddle once I get to the top, that basically means that I'm correct. I still came out of the saddle just a little bit, so that means I hop back off the bike, adjust this one more time, which I think will be good right after this one. Swing that leg back over, feet in the cages, lock that leg out. My seat is still, my booty's still in the saddle. My leg is straight, and I haven't come out of the saddle. So this is great for me. Now, here's a trick. If you feel that once you start to rotate those feet, if it feels like you're reaching with your toes or like your hips are shifting, that means that your seat's too high. I'm kind of at that point right now. I feel like I'm reaching. So that means I'm hopping off the bike one more time. And I'm going to move it down one notch. I tell people all the time, setting up your bike is like trying on bras at Victoria's Secret. Like you think you know your bra size, you really don't. Just let the expert help you, right? Okay. Foot in the cage, climbing over, putting my other foot in the cage, and now I rotate those feet. This feels good. I don't feel like I'm reaching with my toes. I don't feel like I'm overextending any of that. It feels good. So you always want to have that full rotation with your feet, with your knees, with your legs, everything. If I end up riding, I'll show you a really good example. If my seat is too low and I'm riding and I notice that I never get a full extension with my legs, see how I don't actually get the full extension? Now, mind you, you're not ever going to lock out your leg. But if I don't get a full extension with my leg, I'm basically all quad and no hamstring. Okay? So when I come out of the saddle, sure, now I'm working my hamstrings, but I'm also in the saddle and not working them nearly as much as I should be. You always want to have that full rotation, full extension without locking your legs while you're riding on your bike. So my bike setup seems to be where it needed to be. I'm going to move it back. Really good note too with most bikes, you will see numbers on the left or the right hand side of the handlebars or the seat. So I know exactly where mine needs to be. I'll just move it right back there and I lock it in. So when I say lock it in, I lock that lever in. Now my saddle is good. This is perfect for me. So I know exactly where my seat needs to be when it comes to height. Now I say you work on the height of your handlebars. So this one is all personal preference. Some people love to ride with them high. That's personally me because I do a lot of choreo. Some people are used to road biking and they like it low, which is basically where this is. It's at the very bottom. I like mine high because the higher that it is, the less pressure I have on my lower back when I do push-ups, which you will be doing with the classes that I teach. So if you have no idea, start with it at the very top. So whatever your lever, your knob, whatever that is, you loosen it, raise it up, put it exactly where it needs to be, and lock it in. Once again, if you don't lock it in, your handlebars will move the entire time. I always tell people it's going to feel like you still have that shot of tequila in your system from the night before. If it's not the alcohol. You didn't lock your stuff in. So go ahead and lock it in. Now that I've locked mine in, handlebars are secure. They're not going anywhere, okay? Same with my seat. Make sure these are always locked in. So the next thing we need to find out is my seat exactly where it needs to be as far as forward or back? We didn't check that. So how do you do that? So basically, I'll climb back onto the bike. It's a lot of up and down, but you're only going to have to do this 1 or 2 times because then now you'll start to know your numbers. There are also numbers on top of here and the seat, so you can move those forward and back. So what I'm going to do is instead of that straight leg, I'm going to put this one at the top. My other leg is locked out. This is just so that you guys can see. If my knee is not over my toe, which it seems to be just a little bit here, at the very top, when you're at your 90-degree angle, then you're good. But I should be more of here. And that's because in that squat position, like we talked about, you don't want the pressure on the top of your knee. This is pressure on the top of my knee, which you want to avoid. So we're going to climb off the bike. And I'll loosen up the back part of my seat and push it forward or backwards, whatever you need to do in order to get it exactly where it needs to be. Climb back onto the saddle. Put your foot back into that 90-degree angle. Obviously, I'm doing this for camera purposes. My seat is back where it needs to be. This leg is locked out. My knee is in line with my toe. Perfect. So the height of my seat is good. The height of my handlebars are good. And the distance, forward or back, for my seat is good. What's the last thing to do? You have to make sure your handlebars are the right distance away according to your body type. So if I'm doing push-ups, I could be 6 foot tall or I could be 4'11". I'm not going to have my handlebars in the same position depending on what height I am. So you climb off the bike one more time. I promise this is the last time. And then you will do the elbow to fingertips test. Elbow goes right in front of the end of your saddle, right on that nose. Elbow goes right there. You stretch your fingertips out. This is where my handlebars should be touching. So depending on your bike, right here, I'm going to turn this knob to the left and I pull it forward. But depending on your bike, you may not be able to move it forward or backwards as much as you need to. Just get as close to those angles and those numbers that you can, just so that you're protecting your body as much as possible. So elbow, fingertips, I'm touching the very tip of this, which is great for me because that's as far as it goes. I twist it to the right, lock it in. I am set up for success. So I'm hopping back onto the bike one more time. Obviously, if you're in the cages, you're going to tighten those cages up. I am here, ready to go. I'm right within fingertips of my handlebars, slight bend in those elbows, chest up to the sky, and I am ready to ride. All right, guys, if we have any questions, you let me know in the comments. Other than that, pedal in purpose, where the purpose moves those pedals, let's rise above and do what we need to do to become bigger and better individuals like you know we can. See you soon.